Far beyond the stars, in a corner of the galaxy where light takes centuries to travel, a mighty empire ruled over hundreds of worlds. This empire had seen many species rise and fall. They crushed the weak, they commanded the strong, and they believed no one could ever surprise them. Their fleets were vast, their weapons could shatter moons, and their arrogance was greater than their power. To them, every new species was just another name to be written in the long list of conquered civilizations. One day, their explorers discovered a small blue planet circling a yellow star. It was called Earth, and its people were called humans. The Empire studied the transmissions of this planet, the signals of music, speeches, and stories flying through space. They laughed at what they saw. Humans looked young, reckless, and divided. Their weapons seemed simple, their fleets small, their technology weak compared to the Empire's great machines. The Council of the Empire decided at once, this species would bow quickly, just like all the others. But there was something strange about humanity that the Empire did not understand. Humans were different. They were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most advanced, but they carried something that the Empire had never faced before. That difference would soon turn the galaxy upside down. At first, the Empire treated Earth as little more than a curiosity. Scouts were sent to orbit the system, observing quietly. They reported the numbers of human ships, the types of weapons, and the general structure of human society. The reports made the admirals smile with amusement. These humans, they said, will fall before our first strike. They will not even resist. Some even laughed, comparing Earth to a child holding a stick against a warrior with a sword. To them, this was not a challenge. It was entertainment. Yet, when the announcement of war spread through the Empire, not all were so sure. A few voices, rare and quiet, whispered that humanity should not be judged too quickly. They saw something in the humans' art, their stories of war and survival, that did not match their weak appearance. But no one listened. The Empire had always been right before, so why would this time be any different? Orders were sent. A fleet would march to Earth, not to negotiate, not to learn, but to demand surrender. The plan was simple. The aliens would appear in human skies, announce their power, and wait for the humans to kneel. And if humanity refused, they would burn cities until Earth understood its place. On Earth, however, the story was unfolding differently. Humanity had seen strange signals at the edges of the solar system. Astronomers noticed patterns that did not belong to stars or natural objects. The military was alerted. Governments met in secret. People on the streets had no idea, but behind closed doors, leaders already knew something was coming. The Terran fleet, Earth's combined space defense, had been preparing quietly for years. There had been rumors, whispers of alien life, long before this day, and humanity did not sit idle. Instead of waiting for doom, they built. They tested weapons no one outside Earth had seen before. They worked together in ways the Empire would never believe. Humanity was not ready for a peaceful surrender. Humanity was ready for a fight. But the aliens did not know this. They still believed Earth would tremble. In their grand chambers, alien admirals raised their hands and declared victory before the battle even began. To them, Earth was already conquered. To them, this was nothing but a formality. And so, the fleet departed. Hundreds of ships cut through the black sea of space, moving toward the small blue world that waited for them. On their journey, they joked, they boasted, and they spoke of how quickly the war would end. They imagined the humans crying for mercy, begging for survival. They imagined parades of victory, songs of triumph, and the name of the Empire once again carved into history. But they were wrong. Deadly wrong. On Earth, humanity was not afraid. The soldiers, the admirals, the scientists, even ordinary people. Many of them felt fear, yes, but inside that fear was something stronger. Humanity carried a strange habit. When faced with impossible odds, they smiled. When told they could not win, they tried harder. When someone tried to break them, they did not simply fall, they fought back. This was the secret the Empire did not see. This was the fire hidden inside the human heart. As the alien fleet drew closer, Telescopes tracked their every move. Secret bases came alive, weapons powered up, and silent orders passed across the globe. The leaders of Earth did not broadcast speeches of fear. Instead, they prepared quietly, calmly, almost as if they had been waiting for this moment all along. Humanity was ready to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. Soon, the Empire would learn that the small blue planet was not weak. It was not helpless. It was dangerous. The challenge had begun, and the outcome would not be what the Empire expected. The alien fleet entered the edge of the solar system with quiet confidence. Their ships glowed like burning stars as they crossed the darkness, each one larger than the cities on Earth. They were proud, armored giants with weapons that could tear apart planets, or so they believed. To the Empire, this was not a war. It was a display of dominance. The admirals imagined that when their fleet was seen, humanity would fall to its knees before the first shot was fired. But humanity was watching. Long before the fleet reached the outer planets, telescopes and satellites on Earth had already detected them. Astronomers who studied the skies every night noticed strange signals, movements that were too precise, too mechanical to be natural. Reports were quickly sent to military leaders, and in secret rooms across the globe, alarms rang. The world governments met in urgency, and the Terran Navy was put on alert. The average person on Earth went about their life, unaware of the danger drawing closer, but those in power knew that history was about to change forever. Fear spread quietly among some leaders, but the admirals of the Terran fleet remained calm. They studied the alien fleet with careful eyes, marking every movement, every signal, every formation. It was not fear that moved them, but something else, something sharper. They understood that the aliens underestimated humanity, and this underestimation was their greatest weapon. On the other side of the solar system, the alien commanders sent their first broadcast. A deep, metallic voice, filled with arrogance, echoed through every human channel, translated by machines. "People of Earth," it said, "you stand before the power of the Galactic Empire. Submit to us, surrender your fleets, surrender your world, and you may live under our mercy. Refuse, and you will be destroyed." The words carried across Earth like thunder. Billions of humans heard the alien demand. Some trembled. Some prayed. Some laughed nervously at the absurdity of it all. The idea of real aliens threatening the world was something humanity had only seen in movies and stories. Yet now it was real, and the entire planet stood at a crossroads. Humanity did not answer right away. Governments stayed silent. The Terran fleet stayed silent. The Empire took this silence as fear. To the alien commanders, it was proof that humans were already broken inside. They told themselves that the victory was near, that the humans would bow just like all the others. They had no idea that Earth was not silent because of fear. Earth was silent because it was preparing. In hidden bases under oceans and mountains, advanced weapons powered up. Ships were fueled and armed in orbit, waiting in shadow. Soldiers were briefed, scientists watched carefully, and leaders sharpened their plans. Humanity was calm, but calm like a hunter before the strike. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, rumors began to spread. Amateur radio operators picked up strange static. Astronomers noticed lights in the sky moving in unusual patterns. Some information leaked to the public. The idea of alien visitors became impossible to hide. News channels speculated, social media exploded, and fear grew. But even with fear, something strange happened. People began to unite. Borders that divided nations mattered a little less, old rivalries weakened, and humanity started to see itself not as separate countries, but as one people standing against an outsider. The alien fleet reached the orbit of Neptune, massive shapes cutting through the darkness like predators. Their weapons were armed, their shields shimmered with power, and their arrogance glowed even brighter than their engines. The alien admirals laughed when they saw no human fleet waiting for them. They thought Earth was frozen in terror, waiting helplessly. They did not know that every move they made was being watched. Humanity was letting them come closer, letting them step into the trap. Inside the Terran fleet's command center, Admiral Reyes stood over a holographic map of the solar system. His eyes were sharp, his voice steady as he gave orders. "Let them come," he said. "Let them believe we are afraid. When the moment comes, they will learn who we are." Around him, officers nodded with silent determination. Humanity's fleet was not as large as the Empire's, but what it lacked in size, it carried in speed, precision, and innovation. Every ship was built with one purpose: survival. Every weapon was designed not for show, but for effect. Humanity had prepared for this moment, and unlike the Empire, they did not underestimate their enemy. The alien fleet drew closer, now passing Saturn, their engines blazing across the void. They sent another message, this time filled with mocking laughter. "People of Earth, your silence is your answer. We will take your world by force, and your species will serve us for eternity." The message was broadcast across every channel on Earth, and panic spread again. But in the command centers, in the bases, in the hearts of soldiers, the reaction was different. They smiled. Not with joy, not with arrogance, but with the strange calm smile of a people who had been underestimated too many times in history. Humanity was ready. And as the alien fleet approached Jupiter, still confident of easy victory, they did not realize that the true battle was about to begin. The alien fleet moved into position near Jupiter, their massive ships blotting out the stars as they waited for Earth's answer. They had already spoken twice, but still humanity gave no reply. The silence was louder than words, and it began to irritate the Empire's commanders. In their history, no species had ever dared to ignore them. Civilizations usually begged for mercy the moment they saw the Empire's fleet, but these humans gave nothing. No surrender, no fear, not even a plea for survival. To the aliens, this was unacceptable. The High Commander of the fleet, a towering figure wrapped in armor of silver and black, ordered another message to be sent. His voice, translated by machines, thundered across Earth's networks, echoing through televisions, radios, and satellites. "People of Earth, your time is over. You stand before the greatest power in this galaxy. We have given you the chance to bow, but your silence is disrespect. You have one final choice: kneel or burn." The words rang across the planet like a bell of doom. People in cities and towns froze as the alien voice filled their homes. Some cried, some prayed, and some shouted in anger. But humanity did not break. In fact, something else was beginning to grow. The longer the aliens spoke, the more arrogant their tone became, and the more humans began to feel a strange sense of defiance. In bars, in living rooms, in crowded streets, people whispered the same thought: who are they to demand our surrender? In the command centers of the Terran fleet, the silence was not fear. It was strategy. Admiral Reyes and his council studied every word, every pause in the aliens' broadcast. They knew that silence made the Empire impatient. They knew that arrogance would blind them even more. And so, Earth's leaders decided together, humanity would not answer yet. Let the aliens wait. Let them become angry. Let them believe humans were frozen. The longer the Empire underestimated humanity, the stronger Earth's advantage grew. The aliens, however, could not see this game. They believed they were still in control. To prove their dominance, the High Commander ordered a demonstration. One of their warships broke formation and pointed its weapons toward Jupiter's moon, Europa. In a flash of light, a weapon of unimaginable energy was released. The surface of Europa cracked and boiled, ice exploding into space, as the entire moon shook from the strike. Billions on Earth watched live as one of their neighboring worlds was scarred in seconds. The message was clear: this is what will happen to you. Fear rippled across Earth. For a moment, even the strongest hearts shook. The Empire believed that fear would force humanity to beg for peace. But they did not understand that fear could also turn into anger. On Earth, as people saw the destruction of Europa, something changed. Panic did not grow. It hardened into resolve. This was no longer a question of survival. This was about dignity, about humanity's right to exist without chains. The Terran fleet prepared quietly, their ships moving into hidden positions, weapons locked on targets, systems running at full power. Still, no message was sent back. Earth remained silent, but its silence now was not weakness, it was defiance. The alien commanders grew restless. "Why do they not answer?" one demanded. "Why do they not kneel?" The High Commander snarled and raised his armored hand. "If they refuse to speak, then we will make them speak. Prepare to advance toward Earth." And so, the fleet adjusted course. Their massive engines roared as they began moving past Jupiter, their shadows stretching like blades toward the inner solar system. On Earth, news channels carried every movement of the alien fleet. Fear mixed with curiosity. People wondered what the government was planning, what the military was hiding. But no answer came. And this mystery only deepened the suspense for the entire world. In the command center of the Terran fleet, Admiral Reyes finally broke the silence with a few words to his officers. "They want fear. We will give them patience. And then, when the time comes, we will give them fire." His officers nodded, eyes burning with determination. The strategy was working. The Empire believed they had already won. They thought silence was surrender, when in truth it was a blade being sharpened in the dark. As the alien fleet crossed the orbit of Mars, the High Commander sent his final ultimatum. His voice was harsh, filled with rage. "Earth, this is your last chance. Bow before the Empire, or watch your world burn. You have one cycle of your planet to decide. Refuse, and we erase you from existence." Billions listened, waiting for their leaders to reply. But still, Earth said nothing. The silence stretched across the world, heavy and mysterious. The aliens thought they had cornered humanity. But in truth, humanity had cornered them. For every second the Empire grew more arrogant, the Terran fleet prepared for the strike that would shock the galaxy. And in that silence, hidden behind fear and uncertainty, a smile began to spread, not on alien faces, but on human ones. The smile of a species that had been underestimated one time too many. The alien fleet moved past Mars, their dark shapes glowing against the black of space. They carried the confidence of conquerors, believing the humans were already broken. To them, Earth's silence was proof of weakness. They saw no fleet waiting for them, no resistance rising against their advance. But what they could not see was the truth hidden beneath the quiet skies of the blue planet. Humanity was not silent because of fear. Humanity was silent because it had been preparing for this moment longer than anyone guessed. Deep beneath oceans, hidden in mountains, and orbiting silently in the shadow of planets, the Terran fleet was ready. Ships of steel and fire waited for the command to rise, their hulls armed with weapons no alien had ever seen. These were not the polished, decorative warships of the Empire, designed to show glory and strength. These were human war machines, built with only one purpose, to survive and to kill if survival demanded it. They were smaller, yes, but faster. They were fewer, yes, but sharper. Each one was the result of years of fear and planning, years of watching the stars and wondering what would come. Humanity had always expected a day like this, and now it had arrived. In the command center, Admiral Reyes studied the alien fleet with calm eyes. His officers waited for his orders, their hands steady, their voices clear. They were not a frightened crew. They were focused, like hunters who had set the trap and now waited for the prey to step closer. "Let them believe we are weak," Reyes said softly. "The longer they believe, the harder they will fall." Around him, the officers nodded. They understood. Humanity's greatest weapon was not just technology. It was patience, cunning, and the refusal to surrender. Unlike the Empire, humans did not rush into battle with arrogance. They prepared, they studied, and they struck only when the moment was right. Across Earth, secret facilities hummed with energy. Massive railguns were hidden beneath the seas, waiting to launch projectiles that could pierce the shields of any alien ship. Satellites, disguised as harmless tools of communication, were armed with directed energy beams, ready to fire when commanded. Underground bunkers connected the governments of Earth in silence, passing information instantly and securely. The aliens thought Earth was divided, filled with weak nations that argued endlessly. What they did not realize was that in the face of an outside enemy, humanity had united like never before. Old rivalries meant nothing now. Borders meant nothing now. Earth stood as one planet, one people, against the Empire. And in that unity was strength the aliens had never imagined. The Empire's commanders remained blind. They laughed as they approached Earth, sending more arrogant messages, promising fire and death if humanity refused to kneel. Their confidence grew as their ships moved closer. They believed the silence of Earth was the silence of despair. But in reality, that silence was the silence before a storm. Admiral Reyes gave quiet orders. Human ships began to move into hidden positions. Small and fast, they slipped into the dark, invisible to alien sensors that were designed to find threats far larger. These ships carried weapons built with human creativity, weapons that broke all the rules the Empire believed in. Simple, brutal, and effective. Torpedoes carrying nuclear fire, railguns firing slugs at speeds that no shield had been tested against, electronic weapons designed to turn advanced computers into useless stone. Humanity had studied war for centuries, and even though their technology was younger than the Empire's, their creativity was older and sharper. Meanwhile, on Earth, people watched the skies with fear but also with something else, hope. They did not know the full power of their fleet, but they trusted in the quiet confidence of their leaders. When the alien broadcast played again, threatening the destruction of Earth cities, some people felt panic, but others began to smile in defiance. Something deep inside the human spirit refused to bow. Humanity had suffered through wars, plagues, and disasters before. No empire, no matter how mighty, could erase that spirit. The alien fleet finally reached the orbit of the moon. Their ships stretched like a wall of iron across the black sky. The High Commander ordered his final warning broadcast once more, his voice filled with pride and anger. "This is your last chance, people of Earth. Surrender, or be destroyed." Still, Earth gave no answer. But this time, it was not only the aliens who felt frustration. Billions of humans, watching from their homes, also wondered, when will our leaders speak? When will humanity answer? In the silence, the suspense grew unbearable. Then, in the hidden command center of the Terran fleet, Admiral Reyes smiled. "Now," he whispered. A signal was sent. Deep beneath the oceans, railguns powered up. Satellites aimed their invisible eyes. Human ships lit their engines in the shadows of planets. For the first time in history, Earth was ready not to defend, but to strike. The Empire believed they were about to witness humanity's surrender. Instead, they were about to witness humanity's strength. The alien fleet moved into Earth's orbit, their giant ships blotting out the stars. To them, the world below was already theirs. They had given warnings, they had shown their power, and they believed the silence of Earth was nothing but surrender. The High Commander prepared to send the final message, a declaration of conquest, when suddenly something unexpected happened. The silence broke, not with words, but with fire. From the dark side of the moon, hidden railguns thundered. Massive projectiles tore through the blackness of space at speeds faster than the eye could follow. The first alien ship never saw it coming. A slug of solid metal smashed into its shields, tearing through them like paper. The impact ripped through the warship's hull, and in a flash, the mighty vessel broke apart, its pieces scattering into the void. The Empire's fleet froze in shock. Never before had a primitive world struck first, and never with such force. Before they could recover, more weapons fired. From beneath the oceans of Earth, hidden silos launched projectiles that streaked into the sky, leaving glowing trails behind them. From orbit, disguised satellites powered up and unleashed beams of searing energy. Human warships, small and fast, burst from the shadows of planets, engines blazing as they darted straight into the Empire's formation. Chaos erupted among the alien fleet. They had expected fear, but what they met was fury. The second alien ship fell to a railgun strike, shields collapsing under the raw speed of human projectiles. Another was struck by a swarm of nuclear torpedoes, its hull engulfed in fire brighter than the sun. Explosions lit the black canvas of space, each one a declaration: humanity was not weak. Humanity was not conquered. Humanity was fighting back. The High Commander roared in anger, ordering his fleet to retaliate. Alien warships opened fire, unleashing beams of energy and swarms of plasma missiles. They struck Earth's defenses with deadly power, but the humans had prepared for this moment. Shields of magnetic force, crude but effective, absorbed part of the damage. Some weapons broke through, striking targets, destroying a few satellites, and sinking one hidden base under the sea. But the Terran fleet did not falter. They pressed forward, darting through space with reckless courage. Human ships weaved through alien formations, striking hard and then vanishing before the enemy could focus their fire. They fought not with overwhelming numbers, but with speed, surprise, and creativity. One small Terran frigate flew dangerously close to a massive alien cruiser, dodging beams of energy that lit up the darkness. At the last moment, the frigate launched a single rail slug directly into the enemy's engines. The cruiser exploded in a brilliant wave of fire, fragments scattering like burning stars. Across the command deck of the Terran fleet, Admiral Reyes stood firm, his eyes locked on the battle. "Keep pressing," he ordered. "Show them what humanity is made of." His voice was steady, calm, even as the war outside raged with fury. Officers relayed orders, their hands moving across glowing screens. Each strike was calculated, each movement designed to turn the arrogance of the Empire against itself. The alien fleet began to falter. They had never faced an enemy that fought like this. Their weapons were designed for slow, predictable opponents, not for humans who moved like ghosts through the void. Their shields were built for energy attacks, not for the brutal speed of solid metal slugs. For every human ship that was lost, 3 alien ships fell. The numbers, once so heavily against humanity, began to shift. The High Commander slammed his fist against his console, his voice a roar of rage. "Crush them! They are nothing. They are insects." But his own officers were no longer certain. Fear crept into their eyes as they watched ship after ship fall to the insects they had mocked. Humanity was not only surviving. Humanity was winning. On Earth, billions watched the battle unfold on their screens. Fear turned into awe as they saw alien warships burning, exploding, retreating. The world cheered when the first alien cruiser was destroyed, then the second, then the third. For the first time, humanity saw itself not as prey, but as predator. In space, the Terran fleet fought with relentless determination. They knew they could not destroy the entire empire, but they could show the galaxy something far more powerful. They could show that humanity would never bow. After hours of brutal fighting, the alien fleet finally broke formation. Their commanders pulled back, regrouping in the darkness, too shaken to press the attack. Silence once again filled the void, but this silence was different. It was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of shock. The Empire had come to Earth expecting surrender. Instead, they had found defiance. Instead, they had found strength. The High Commander stared at the burning wreckage of his ships, his pride shattered. He had underestimated humanity, and now the entire galaxy would know. On Earth, Admiral Reyes finally spoke the words that billions had been waiting to hear. His voice, calm and steady, carried across every channel. "People of Earth, today we faced the Empire. Today we showed them who we are. This is only the beginning." And as his words echoed across the planet, humanity smiled, not in fear, but in pride. The first clash was over, and the war for Earth's future had only just begun. The silence after the first clash did not last long. In the ruins of their broken ships, the Empire's commanders struggled to understand what had just happened. They had lost vessels, powerful ones, to a species they had called primitive. Their pride was shattered, their confidence cracked, but their arrogance still burned. The High Commander sent a furious signal across the stars, calling for reinforcements. The Empire would not allow this humiliation to stand. They would bring a greater fleet, larger and stronger, to crush Earth once and for all. The message spread quickly through alien channels, and across distant worlds whispers began to rise. A young species had dared to stand against the Empire. A young species had even won their first battle. Many did not believe it, but the proof was there, the wreckage of alien ships orbiting Earth, burning fragments glowing in the void. While the Empire gathered reinforcements, humanity prepared for what came next. Admiral Reyes knew this was only the beginning. The Terran fleet had fought bravely, but the Empire's true power had not yet arrived. He called his officers together in the command center. "They will come again," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Stronger, angrier. But they will come believing we are still weak. That is our advantage. We will use their pride against them." Across Earth, factories worked day and night to build more weapons. Scientists refined defenses, engineers repaired damaged satellites, and soldiers trained without rest. The entire planet moved with one purpose: survival. Humanity had never been so united. Old arguments between nations were forgotten. Borders became meaningless. It was no longer about one country or one flag. It was about the species. It was about the right to exist free. Weeks later, space itself trembled as the Empire's reinforcements arrived. Hundreds of ships, larger than mountains, darkened the skies as they entered the solar system. They came with fury, determined to erase the insult humanity had given them. The High Commander raised his voice once more, sending a broadcast across Earth. "You dared to strike us. You dared to wound us. Now we bring the full might of the Empire. There will be no mercy. Your world will burn, and your name will be forgotten." On Earth, fear spread again, but it did not crush the people. Instead, anger grew stronger. Humanity had already survived one battle. They knew the aliens were not invincible. They knew they could fight. And so, when the alien fleet advanced, humanity was ready. The second great battle began near Mars. Alien warships fired beams of energy that ripped through the void, burning space with their fury. Human ships darted forward, weaving through the attacks with speed the aliens had never expected. Railguns thundered again, tearing through shields. Nuclear torpedoes struck, engulfing alien cruisers in fire. The Empire responded with overwhelming force, destroying several human ships in brutal flashes of light. But even as vessels were lost, humanity did not retreat. They fought harder, pushing back with courage that no machine could calculate. For every human ship destroyed, another struck back with vengeance. The Empire's commanders grew frustrated. They had expected a simple crushing victory, but once again the humans fought with cunning, with speed, with creativity. Human ships did not fight like the others they had conquered. They fought like wolves, small, fast, and merciless when they struck. The High Commander ordered the alien fleet to tighten formation, to trap the humans, but this only made them easier targets. Human weapons ripped into the clustered ships, tearing holes in their defenses. Explosions lit the black sky, painting the void with fire. On Earth, billions watched again, holding their breath as the war unfolded. The losses were heavy. Families wept as names of fallen ships were announced, but even in grief, pride grew. Humanity was showing the galaxy something new. They were not just survivors. They were warriors. Hours passed, the battle raging without pause. At last, the Empire realized the truth: they could not win quickly. Every moment they stayed, they lost more ships. Every attack they launched cost them dearly. Their pride told them to press forward, but fear whispered in their hearts. Humanity had turned the battle into something the Empire had never faced before. It was no longer a war of numbers. It was a war of will. Admiral Reyes stood at the center of it all, calm even as the stars burned around him. "Hold the line," he ordered. "Every second we stand, they grow weaker." His officers obeyed, and the fleet pressed on. The turning point had arrived. Humanity was no longer the hunted. Humanity was now the hunter. And the Empire, for the first time in its long history, began to doubt its own strength. In the end, the Empire's reinforcements pulled back, retreating to regroup. The High Commander roared in anger, refusing to call it defeat, but deep inside, he knew the truth. Humanity had survived again. Humanity had changed the war. Across the galaxy, whispers spread louder. The Empire had been challenged, and the challengers had not fallen. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. The galaxy held its breath. The Empire had sent 2 fleets against Earth, and both had failed to bring humanity to its knees. Worlds under the Empire's control whispered the unthinkable, that the newcomers, the fragile humans from a small blue planet, had faced the superpower of the stars and lived. The wreckage of alien ships drifting near Mars was proof enough. No propaganda could hide it. The Empire was wounded, and its pride was bleeding. On Earth, the Terran fleet counted its own losses. Ships had been destroyed, crews lost, families broken. The cost was heavy, but the spirit of humanity had not been crushed. In fact, it had grown stronger. Across the planet, people no longer lived in fear. They stood taller, united not by borders or flags but by a single truth: humanity had stood against giants and had not fallen. In the command center, Admiral Reyes studied the battlefield. He knew the Empire would come again, stronger, perhaps with the full force of their armadas. But he also knew something had changed. The Empire no longer saw Earth as prey. They saw Earth as a problem, a thorn, a danger. And that meant humanity had already won part of the war. For days, Earth remained silent. The alien fleet, humiliated and broken, stayed near the edge of the solar system, afraid to advance yet unwilling to retreat completely. The High Commander sent another message, his voice filled with rage and desperation. Humans, you are nothing. Your defiance is meaningless. We will erase your world, even if it takes the strength of the entire Empire. You cannot win. The message spread across Earth, filling screens, radios, and broadcasts. Billions heard it, but this time no one trembled. Instead, they waited for something else, for their own leaders to finally speak. Admiral Reyes stood before the cameras, his uniform marked by the weight of battle. Behind him, the flag of a united Earth hung, not of one nation but of all humanity. His face was calm, his voice steady, as he gave the first true reply to the Empire. This is Admiral Reyes of the Terran fleet. To the Empire that calls itself mighty, we have heard your threats. We have seen your weapons. And we are not impressed. His words rang across the planet, carried into every home, every street, every city. Billions listened, their hearts pounding as he continued. You believe we are weak because our ships are smaller, because our worlds are fewer, because our history is young. But strength is not in numbers. Strength is in spirit. And you will never break ours. The silence that followed was powerful, heavier than the roar of battle. Humanity, for the first time, had spoken not with fear, not with pleading, but with confidence. The Empire's commanders raged at the words, their pride burning hotter than their weapons. But across the galaxy, countless species heard the message too. For some, it was like fire in the dark. For the first time, someone had dared to stand against the Empire openly, without begging, without compromise. On distant worlds, enslaved races whispered in secret chambers, repeating the words, "We are not impressed." The Empire tried to dismiss the message as bravado, but they could not erase the truth that came with it. The humans had spoken as equals, not as slaves. On Earth, the reaction was electric. Crowds filled the streets, cheering, crying, raising their voices together. For centuries humanity had fought each other, but now they stood united. They had found their voice, and that voice shook the galaxy. Admiral Reyes ended his speech with a promise, his eyes sharp as steel. If you come again, we will fight again. If you send 10 fleets, we will destroy 10 fleets. We are humanity. We will never kneel. The words echoed across the stars, carried into the hearts of allies humanity did not yet know they had. The Empire had expected silence, surrender, despair. Instead, they had received defiance, calm and fearless. And that message did more damage to their power than any weapon. In the alien fleet, the High Commander listened in fury, his claws digging into the metal of his throne. He could destroy ships, he could crush planets, But he could not erase the idea that had now taken root in the galaxy, that the Empire was not invincible. The humans had lit a fire that could spread to every corner of the stars. As Earth celebrated, Reyes stood in silence in his command chamber, staring at the holographic map of the solar system. He knew the war was far from over. The Empire would not forgive this insult. They would come with more ships, more fury, more determination. But humanity was no longer afraid. Humanity had found its strength. The message had been delivered, and it would echo long after the words themselves faded. The galaxy would never forget the day a small planet looked into the eyes of an empire and said, without fear, "We are not impressed." The Empire had never known fear like this. For centuries they had ruled the stars with iron claws, crushing every world that resisted, silencing every voice that dared to rise against them. But now the silence was broken. A single message from Earth, a single line spoken with calm defiance, had done what no weapon ever could. It had planted doubt in the heart of the Empire. Their fleets had failed, their commanders had been humiliated, and the galaxy was watching. In hidden corners of distant planets, whispers grew into murmurs, and murmurs into secret meetings. Species who had lived under the Empire's rule for generations spoke of the humans, the strange warriors from a blue planet who stood against the storm and smiled. If they can resist, why not us? They asked. The idea spread like fire, unstoppable and dangerous. On Earth, the celebrations continued, but beneath the joy was a sober truth. The war was not over. Admiral Reyes knew the Empire's pride would not allow retreat forever. They would regroup, they would rebuild, and they would strike again with even greater fury. Yet something had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the dark. Across the stars, eyes were turning toward them, not as prey but as possibility. Even allies they had never met were quietly watching, measuring, hoping. In the Empire's War Council, the High Commander raged at his subordinates. His claws tore across the table as he shouted that Earth must be destroyed at any cost. But the advisors spoke with unease. 2 fleets had been lost, thousands of ships, billions of credits of war resources, all against one planet. If more fleets were wasted, the Empire itself might appear weak. Already rumors of rebellion were spreading in the outer territories. To strike again could destroy Earth, but it could also shatter the illusion of Empire power forever. The Council argued, voices rising in fear disguised as anger. Finally, the High Commander gave a bitter order. The remaining fleet was to retreat. They would withdraw from the solar system, regroup in secret, and plan a final strike when the time was right. It was not surrender, he told them. It was strategy. But every soul in that chamber knew the truth. It was fear. When the alien fleet pulled away from Earth's borders, humanity watched in silence. No shots were fired, no final words spoken. The enemy simply vanished into the dark, leaving behind broken wrecks and burning trails of defeat. On Earth, people stood together, stunned. The Empire had come to destroy them, and now the Empire was gone. For the first time since the invasion began, the sky above was free. Admiral Reyes did not declare victory. He knew the Empire was still out there, and the danger had not passed. But he also knew that humanity had done the impossible. They had faced the strongest power in the galaxy and lived. And that alone had changed everything. In the weeks that followed, messages began to appear in secret channels, intercepted signals from distant worlds. Some were simple words of respect, others were offers of trade or hidden alliances. A few were even desperate pleas for help from species dreaming of freedom. Humanity had not only defended itself, it had lit a spark of rebellion across the galaxy. The Empire could no longer control the narrative. Their enemies were growing bolder, their subjects were daring to question, and all of it traced back to Earth. Reyes stood at the viewing deck of his flagship, watching the stars with quiet determination. The galaxy was vast, filled with dangers yet unseen, but also filled with new possibilities. Earth was no longer a small and forgotten world. It was a symbol, a story whispered across the void, a legend in the making. The outcome the Empire had expected was simple: Earth crushed, humanity enslaved, and the Empire's rule unquestioned. But the outcome they received was far different. The humans had not been broken. The humans had risen. And now the Empire itself trembled in the shadow of a species they had once mocked as weak. On that day, a truth was written into the stars: humanity was here to stay. And the galaxy would never be the same again.